What if we told you that Africa's real billionaires aren't always the ones you see on Forbes, that behind the headlines of poverty, aid, and crisis, lies a hidden story of African dynasties, secret empires, and wealth so vast it shapes global politics in 2025? This is the story of Africa's hidden billionaires, from poverty to power. Subscribe now and join us as we uncover the untold truth about Africa's wealth creators, and how they are quietly reshaping the world. Africa is often portrayed as a continent of poverty, but here's the truth. Africa holds 60% of the world's arable land, 40% of global gold, 90% of cobalt, and trillions in untapped oil and gas reserves. Yet the real story is how a new class of African billionaires, some public, some hidden, are turning this wealth into political power. Every year, the world pores over the Forbes list, a dazzling catalog of the planet's wealthiest individuals. We know their names, their companies, their public triumphs. But what about the list you'll never see? The shadow ledger of wealth so vast, so deeply entrenched, and so politically sensitive that it exists entirely outside the public view. We're not just talking about being discreet, we're talking about a parallel financial universe. Let's talk about the billionaires you won't find on Forbes. These are the old royal families whose wealth is indistinguishable from the states, the military elites who command economies as well as armies, the resource tycoons who control the very earth beneath our feet, and the underground magnates who operate in the spaces between laws. Their fortunes aren't measured in stock prices but in oil fields, mineral concessions, and political power that has been consolidated over generations. This is wealth that doesn't just buy luxury, it buys silence, loyalty, and impunity on a global scale. Take, for example, Equatorial Guinea's Obiang family. President Teodoro Obiang has ruled the small, oil-rich nation since the 1979 coup. When vast offshore oil reserves were discovered in the 1990s, the country's GDP skyrocketed. But that wealth never reached its people. Instead, the national treasury effectively became the family's private bank account. While the average citizen lives on less than a few dollars a day, the Obiang clan's fortune is estimated to be in the billions, stashed in offshore accounts and laundered through extravagant purchases. The president's son and vice president Teodorin became infamous for his globe-trotting lifestyle, a spectacle of supercars, Parisian mansions, and celebrity memorabilia, all allegedly funded by siphoning the country's oil wealth. International investigators have seized hundreds of millions in assets, but it's just a fraction of a fortune built on a nation's resources. A textbook case of how a ruling family can transform state assets into a hidden dynastic empire. Now travel to the heart of the continent, the Democratic Republic of Congo, a nation blessed and cursed by its geology. The DRC holds over 70% of the world's cobalt and a huge share of its coltan, the indispensable minerals powering our smartphones, laptops, and the green energy revolution's electric cars. Yet, it remains one of the poorest countries on Earth. Why? Because a shadowy network of mining barons, often with deep ties to political and military figures, controls this multi-billion-dollar trade. These aren't CEOs of publicly traded companies. They are gatekeepers who operate through opaque contracts and informal supply chains. They earn their billions quietly, extracting immense profits as these strategic minerals move from dangerous, unregulated mines, often employing child labor, into the legitimate global tech supply chain. An investigative journalist covering the region noted, "For every dollar of declared mineral export, another dollar, perhaps two, vanishes through smuggling and under-invoicing straight into the pockets of a hidden elite." This is wealth built on a global paradox. The very devices that connect our world are forged from a system that enriches a few powerful families while trapping millions in poverty. In the Sahel, a different kind of hidden empire is being forged in dust and gold. Across Sudan, Mali, and Burkina Faso, a massive, largely unregulated gold rush is underway. While large-scale industrial mines exist, the real story is the hundreds of thousands of artisanal mines. Here, smuggling networks, often protected by military factions or extremist groups, move hundreds of tons of gold annually. This isn't petty crime, it's a parallel economy worth tens of billions of dollars. The gold is flown out on private planes, often to hubs like Dubai, where it's melted down, mixed and rebranded, its origins erased. It then enters the global financial system as legitimate, untraceable bullion. This river of gold funds more than just lavish lifestyles. It fuels conflict, props up unelected political elites, and bankrolls private armies, creating a vicious cycle of instability where the state is weak and the gold smugglers are kings. Then there are the political tycoons, masters of leveraging public office for private gain, and Nigeria is a prime case study. For decades, its immense oil wealth has been systematically diverted. It happens through opaque oil block allocations to political allies, massive fuel subsidy scams, and wildly inflated government contracts. This isn't just corruption, it's a sophisticated system of wealth extraction. And where does the money go? Much of it flows directly into the world's most stable, high-end markets. It's a well-trodden path, from Lagos to London, New York, and Dubai. Billions in hidden wealth are laundered through the purchase of luxury real estate, often using anonymous shell companies set up in jurisdictions like the British Virgin Islands or Panama. Western banks, law firms, and real estate agents become the often unwitting, sometimes complicit enablers in this global movement of illicit capital, cleaning the money and securing the fortunes of a powerful few. It's crucial to understand that these aren't just rich individuals indulging in luxury, they are sovereign powers in their own right. This hidden wealth translates into hard geopolitical influence. They are power brokers who can finance presidential campaigns and sway elections, ensuring their continued access to the state's resources. They can fund insurgencies to topple governments that threaten their interests. And because they control access to strategic resources like oil, cobalt, and gold, they can negotiate directly with foreign superpowers, often trading resources for political protection on the world stage, completely bypassing traditional diplomacy. They operate in the shadows, but their impact is felt globally, shaping economies, fueling conflicts, and defining the true, unwritten rules of power. While a universe of hidden wealth operates in the shadows, a parallel story of immense fortune is unfolding in plain sight. This is the era of the visible titans, a new wave of entrepreneurs and dynastic families who are not just participating in the African economy, they are fundamentally rewriting its rules. They are constructing modern empires of steel, data, and capital with ambitions that stretch far beyond the continent's borders. These are not just businesses, they are nation-building projects on a corporate scale, forging a new African narrative of power, innovation, and global influence, one monumental deal at a time. Their names are becoming synonymous with progress and power, their faces gracing the covers of international business magazines. At the forefront of this charge is Aliko Dangote, Africa's most famous public billionaire. His story is a masterclass in scaling ambition. Starting with a small loan from his uncle in the late 1970s to trade commodities like cement, sugar, and rice, he methodically reinvested his profits, transitioning from trader to manufacturer. His strategy was simple, yet revolutionary. Why import what Africa can produce itself? This philosophy of import substitution became the bedrock of the Dangote Group. Today, his empire is a tangible force across the continent, producing the cement that builds its cities, the sugar that sweetens its food, and the flour for its daily bread. But his crowning achievement is the Dangote refinery in Nigeria. A Goliath of industrial engineering, it's the world's largest single-train refinery, built at a cost of over $19 billion. It's designed to not only make Nigeria self-sufficient in petroleum products, but to turn it into a major exporter of refined fuel, fundamentally altering global energy logistics. This is the Dangote effect. Colossal strategic investments that create entire ecosystems of jobs and infrastructure. In contrast to Dangote's self-made industrial empire stands the legacy of dynastic wealth, rooted deep in the continent's mineral-rich soil. For over a century, the Oppenheimer family name was synonymous with one of the world's most powerful monopolies, diamonds. Through their control of De Beers, Nicky Oppenheimer and his predecessors didn't just mine and sell stones, they engineered the very culture of desire around them. The iconic "A Diamond is Forever" campaign was a masterstroke of marketing that cemented the diamond engagement ring as a Western tradition, ensuring demand for generations. This represents an older form of empire, one built on controlling a finite, precious resource and shaping its global market. While the Oppenheimers sold their stake in De Beers in 2012, their story is emblematic of African mining dynasties that continue to wield immense influence. From the copper belts of Zambia and the DRC to the platinum mines of South Africa, these families control the raw materials that power the world's green energy transition and tech industries, making them quiet but indispensable players in 21st century geopolitics. If Dangote built with concrete and the Oppenheimers with carbon, then Zimbabwean magnate Strive Masiyiwa built his empire with light and information. His is a story of relentless perseverance. In the 1990s, he waged a 5-year legal war against his own government's state-run telecom monopoly for the right to operate his mobile network, Econet Wireless. He won. That victory didn't just launch a company, it unleashed a revolution. Masiyiwa understood that connectivity was a catalyst for economic liberation. His network, which now serves over 130 million people, brought communication to rural villages and bustling cities alike. But his vision expanded. Through liquid intelligent technologies, he has built Africa's largest fiber optic network, a terrestrial digital backbone, stretching over 100,000 kilometers, connecting the continent to itself and the world, with high-speed data, cloud computing, and cybersecurity services. He is laying the very foundation for Africa's digital future. And on that digital foundation, a new generation of royalty is rising, the tech kings and queens. This empire isn't measured in factories or mines, but in lines of code, user data, and billion-dollar valuations. The revolution began with services like Kenya's M-Pesa, which showed the world how a simple mobile phone could become a bank account for millions. Now, a new cohort is building the next layer. Nigerian startups like Flutterwave and Paystack, the latter famously acquired by US tech giant Stripe for over $200 million, are creating the payment infrastructure for the entire continent's digital economy. They allow an artisan in Accra to sell to a customer in Amsterdam as seamlessly as if they were next door. Founders like Olugbenga Agboola of Flutterwave and the duo behind Paystack, Shola Akinlade and Ezra Olubi, became billionaires not in decades but in less than one. This new wealth is young, fast and disruptive and includes powerful women like Odunayo Iweniyi, co-founder of PiggyVest, who are shaping the future of finance and proving that in Africa's tech scene, talent is the ultimate currency. From industry and infrastructure to resources and code, these modern billionaires are constructing the pillars of a new Africa. They are not just chasing profit, they are architects of destiny, tackling uniquely African challenges with bold, continent-spanning solutions. Their influence now extends into the corridors of global power, where they are no longer just guests at the table, but are increasingly setting the agenda. They are shaping Africa's role in the global order, demonstrating that the future of economic power is dynamic, diverse, and undeniably rising from the African continent. How do these billionaires rise in countries where most people live under $5 a day? Resource control: whoever controls gold, oil, or cobalt, controls power. Political ties: billionaires fund leaders who protect their wealth in return. Global networks, offshore accounts, Dubai gold markets, London real estate, all connected. Cultural legacy: ancient wealth from kingdoms like Mali, Kush, and Kemet still inspires Africa's billionaires today. This is the blueprint, from poverty to power. The year is 2025, a new global order is not on the horizon, it is already here. And its architects are not where the world has been taught to look. They are in Lagos, Nairobi, Kinshasa, and Johannesburg. Africa's billionaires, both the celebrated and the clandestine, are no longer just participants in the global economy, they are its new kingmakers. Their influence extends far beyond the continent's borders, quietly and decisively rewriting the rules of power, technology, and culture for everyone. Let's begin with the device in your hand, the car you aspire to drive. The global tech and green energy revolutions hinge on a handful of critical minerals: cobalt, lithium, coltan, manganese. For decades, the story was simple. Africa had the resources, the world took them. That story is over. Today, Africa's hidden financial titans are orchestrating a seismic shift. They are no longer content with selling raw earth. They are consolidating control over the entire value chain. Imagine a Congolese dynasty that doesn't just own the cobalt mines, but also the refineries processing it to 99.9% purity, the battery precursor plants built in partnership with Korean tech giants, and holds a significant equity stake in the European car manufacturers who depend on their supply. This is vertical integration on a global scale. They are using this leverage to dictate terms, secure technology transfers, and ensure that the factories of the future are built not just in Asia or Europe, but in Africa. The world's digital future and its green transition are now subject to their strategic decisions. Now consider the food on your table. As climate change parches once fertile lands across the globe, a new green gold rush has begun, and its epicenter is Africa. The continent holds 60% of the world's uncultivated arable land. Foreign powers, from China and the Gulf states to India and South Korean investment funds, are acquiring millions of hectares in a desperate bid to secure their own food supplies. But this is not a simple colonial redux. African agribusiness magnates are at the heart of this transformation. They are the gatekeepers, the partners, and often, the primary beneficiaries. These hidden billionaires are creating continent-spanning agricultural empires using satellite technology, AI-driven irrigation, and advanced genetics to turn savanna into breadbaskets. They are building vertically integrated systems, from seed to supermarket shelf, that not only feed Africa but also export high-value organic produce to Europe and Asia, influencing global commodity prices. This boom, however, casts a long shadow, raising critical questions about food sovereignty, water rights, and the displacement of local farmers, creating a complex nexus of progress and peril. This economic leverage inevitably translates into hard geopolitical power. The era of Africa being a passive chessboard for superpowers is ending. With the expansion of blocs like BRICS+, African nations now represent a formidable voting and economic coalition. Behind the diplomatic handshakes and summit communiques are the continent's financial elites. These are the quiet advisors in the presidential palaces, the architects of Pan-African resource alliances that can challenge the dominance of OPEC or the G7. They are pioneering a new, strategic resource nationalism. A Nigerian energy tycoon, for instance, might use his vast wealth to fund the legal and technical teams that renegotiate a 50-year-old oil concession, then use that victory to broker a West African energy pact that sets its own terms for LNG exports to Europe. They are financing the infrastructure, the ports, the railways, the data cables, that physically reorients trade away from the old colonial routes and towards new South-South corridors, creating a new map of global influence. And perhaps most visibly, Africa's influence is exploding across global culture. This is soft power, weaponized and monetized by a new class of cultural entrepreneurs. It's the sound of a Mapiano from a Johannesburg studio dominating playlists in Tokyo. It's a Nollywood epic, financed by a Lagos media mogul, outperforming a Hollywood blockbuster on global streaming platforms. But the influence runs deeper. African billionaires are no longer waiting for Western validation. They are building the infrastructure themselves, founding global record labels, launching Pan-African streaming services, and buying heritage fashion houses in Paris to infuse them with African aesthetics. They are investing in sports, acquiring stakes in major European football clubs and launching continental super leagues, turning athletic talent into a powerful source of influence and pride. This isn't just cultural export, it's cultural ascendance, shaping what the world watches, listens to, and wears. So, the question is no longer whether the world is ready for Africa's billionaires. A new reality is being forged, with or without the world's permission. From the boardrooms of global tech companies to the back rooms of the United Nations, from the runways of Milan to the recording studios of LA, their impact is already undeniable. The 21st century power map is being redrawn, and the ink flows from Africa. The real question is, can you see the new lines being drawn? For centuries, Africa was called the Dark Continent. But today, Africa's hidden billionaires are proving it was never dark, just hidden from view. They are writing a new story, from poverty to power. And in 2025, that story belongs not just to Africa, but to the world. If you believe the world needs to hear more untold stories like this, hit that like button, share this video, and subscribe to Livity Universe. Together, we're building a community that uncovers the truth about power, wealth, and Africa's future.